G'day and welcome to Mr. Wimble's amazing video looking at the syllabus. I thought I'd try and do this as quickly as possible and just look at a couple of different pieces of the syllabus and outline some things that I think are important. For this page, there's a couple of things. Let's start at the bottom. We're going to do three things here, parts 1, 2 and 3. We're going to do them in this order. We'll do part 3 first. Note it says can be studied in order. Core study first, which I'll talk about. That's the world at the beginning of the 20th century. And we'll also do part 2, which is the investigation. That's your own project. It's a big assessment task that you'll do throughout terms 1 and 2. So you'll do that like one period a fortnight kind of thing throughout the whole time, and then we'll do the case studies as well. Okay, so a couple of things to look at here. First of all, these are the key things that you're looking at, investigating the role of key features, issues, individuals, groups, events, and concepts. So there's going to be this emphasis when we're looking at something, and we'll say, okay, what's the key feature of this period? Or what's the key issue here? Or who's the main individual? Etc., etc., etc. Also, one other thing that we'll be looking at, which hopefully you will understand and be able to talk about, is historiography. Alright, so let's move on and have a look at a couple of the other key issues. The reason why we do the third part first is for a very good reason. It's a source-based approach. You'll see that there, source-based approach. And what that is it's all the information, all the kind of things we'll look at using sources. And there's a reason for this, and it outlines it. If you're someone that needs to read everything in detail, feel free to pause now, but I'll basically summarize it anyway. Okay, it says what a source is, okay? Written and non-written materials that used to investigate the past. Alright, why do historians look at sources? To see if they hold any evidence for what we're looking at. Okay, what's evidence? Information in the source. Okay, so if you're looking at cats in the 18th century, and you find a source which is a picture of a cat from the 17th century, it doesn't have any information for your investigation in it. A writing of someone describing a cat in the 18th century, that's relevant. That's therefore evidence. So, as it says, source becomes evident if it is used to answer a part of the question. So we're going to use sources in the process of historical inquiry, and that's looking at questions, finding out information, seeing how reliable the source is, analysing and interpreting the evidence. So you look at the description of the cat from the 18th century and you say, does this person know anything about cats? Where was the source found? Is it reliable? Is it trustworthy? Etc., etc., etc. I am very sorry that I came up with such a rubbish example, but bear with me. This is basically just expanding on those things that we talked about earlier, as in key features, issues, concepts, individuals, groups, events. And these are just an example of all the different things you can have. So these are the concepts. I like to call them kind of like the isms, because a lot of them are actually ending in ism. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory when we go to look at them. Individuals and groups, there's a couple of things to look at here. First of all, their historical context. So we'll look at them in relation to the time period in which they appeared. Okay, so if someone's talking about women's work and saying women should stay home and women should do this, this, and this, we can't just go, boom, they're a sexist, that's wrong. Maybe in the time that they appeared, that's what women did. A woman's place was at home. So we'll look at the historical context. We'll look at why decisions were made. Why did that person do that? Has it got something to do with their values or their attitudes, etc., etc.? What was significant that happened? How did they contribute to the society? This person might have... feminism might have come in, first wave feminism, and pushed for the vote. Suffrage, for example, which changed society. And then we'll have a look at events, looking at why did the events happen, what were the main features of the events, and what was the impact of the event. So a couple of things there that we'll look at. Obviously, we're not going to look at all of these things. This is just expanding for the whole thing and generalizing. Next, we've got the principal focus. This is also very important because it basically ties together what we're going to do for this part. Alright, so you're going to investigate the forces and ideas for change and continuity. Okay, so what forces were there that made things change? What forces were there that made things stay the same? and also what ideas are around democracy, feminism, etc., etc., authoritarianism. So we'll look at those forces and those ideas. Outcomes are very important. That's basically what you should be able to do. Okay, for example, you should be able to, at the end of this course, of this core study, describe the role of key individuals, groups, and events of the thing that we've looked at from the 18th century to the present. Okay, why are they important? Because they are what I will use to assess you in your assessment tasks. So an assessment task might do this one, this one, this one, and this one. And so I will make up my little assessment marking table using these outcomes. So you should look at your assessment task, look at what I've asked you to do, and look at the outcomes I've talked about and say, does my assessment task show that I can do this well? Here's just a quick list of note, some or all of the following. Okay, so we won't do all of these. We'll definitely do that. We'll do a little bit of this. A couple of these. We'll definitely look at this because World War One is what you do for your core study for Year 12. So we'll definitely do the causes of World War One, and we'll look at why that occurred. The syllabus very helpfully gives us a glossary of key words. It's very important, however, to realise that you don't actually have to learn all the words. They're all the words for like the 20 different things you can choose from. So if we were going to make that smaller, and 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 make that smaller, you'd start freaking out and go, whoa, there's so many words here. But don't worry, we're going to look at different ways of learning the ones that we're going to do. And as I said, you're not going to do all of them. So stop freaking out at home. It's all going to be okay. But you will have to learn some. Finally, some more keywords you've got to use, but this is for a different reason. This isn't just, oh, I know what colonialism means, or, oh yeah, militarism, that's important when we're looking at the causes of World War One. These are quite important to learn. Not all of them, but quite a few of them are important to learn off by heart. These are the words that the Board of Studies will ask you when you're doing your HSC. They'll ask you to account for something, or to analyse something, or assess something. So when you're writing an essay, they might say, assess the extent to which Hitler used xenophobia in his rise to power. You need to know what they mean by assess. Okay, so these are words that I'll keep on coming back to and I'll keep on emphasising, and you know that assess means to make a judgment of value, quality, etc., etc. Okay, you won't use all of them. You'll probably use analyse, assess. You might have to compare something. You might have to discuss. You will probably contrast and compare will be used together. What else have we got? You'll need to explain, identify maybe, justify, outline. So there's a couple that you will have evaluate. You'll definitely have to use evaluate. So these are words where you need to know what it means and what they're actually asking you to do. For example, evaluate means make a judgment based on criteria and determine the value of something. So if you don't do that in an essay, the person marking it will say, well, they haven't actually done what we asked them to do. They've talked all about it, but they haven't actually made that final judgment based on criteria, so therefore, straight away they're going down from a 22 out of 25 to a 17 out of 25. Okay, so these are very important terms, and we'll keep going back to them and going back to them so that you know exactly what they mean, and you can use them when answering essays. All right, hopefully you've, probably not enjoyed, but hopefully this has been an informative video when we're looking at the syllabus, and you can keep coming back to this, just making sure you understand everything to do with the modern history preliminary course. And if you have any questions that are outside of this, you know where to find me.